This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with frontman Alessandro Del Vecchio of the melodic hard rock act Edge of Forever. If I knew absolutely nothing about Edge of Forever, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Well, we're a hard rock band with very deep subjects for lyrics. We tend to be, filled with I would say philosophical themes in a sort of way, not in a heavy way, but we go deep, and we always give a window at the end that's very positive on how to win over the struggles of life. So we're not a typical hard rock band with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, as you say, but we look at the world and life from a very deep perspective, and we tell the stories using metaphors. And I happen to write lyrics about the way of seeing world and spirituality and religion and I would say, mindfulness, everything from the, under the lens of the Native American culture and philosophy. And I just tell what I see in the world, and I just write stories so that, our listeners can see and feel the different perspectives on what happens to everybody in the world.
Edge of Forever just released their sixth studio album, Ritual, on Frontiers Music on October 13th. This is a brand new lineup for Edge of Forever. How did you assemble the current crew?
Well, the lineup has been stable in the last 4 years, but in 4 years we have released 3 records under this lineup. And it's a new lineup in the sense that, it's been 4 years that we're together, but these 4 years have brought lots of music. We did a live album in the studio. We've done 3 records. We've done multiple shows, probably around 40 shows or something like that. And we survived the pandemic, which is which is already a goal. But before Edge of Forever had 3 lineups during our 20 years of since the birth of the band. But this last lineup, it's not because it's the last lineup, but it's in the most sincere way, this is the best lineup that we've had ever, because we sound, in my opinion, unique, and every member is bringing a different kind of musicality that's building our sound and molding our sound into something that you cannot hear in any other band in our genre. We have elements that other bands don't have, like, polyphonic choirs or, solo, intricate solos. We sometimes fall into the prog, drawer, and we tend to write freely and write something that's unique.
Now, you're a prolific songwriter yourself. You write music for a lot of other artists, for your own projects and everything like that, but collectively, Edge of Forever writes together.
Yes, I mean, especially the last record, and for the first time in Edge of Forever, the melody, the melodies are not just coming from myself as a singer, but Nick Mazzucconi, our bass player, came up with I think 5 of the melodies, the vocal lines that you can hear on the songs. And that gives, first of all, it keeps things fresh and exciting for me, and second, it really represents the band. It's not just me and 3 guys, it's 4 guys working together, and and it's like having a vase. We're molding, we're creating the vase together. It's 8 hands together, on the vase, and we make our own vase.
Ritual is a concept album. It tells the story of the last 2 indigenous people, twins that were separated. If you want to go a little bit more into the story.
Yeah, it talks about this 2 twins that are separated at a very young age and sent to residential schools, which in the last years have come to the knowledge, the common knowledge, because in Canada, bodies of children were found in in a garden of a former residential school. So what everybody knew in the Native American world in Canada then became common knowledge. It made it to the news. The church, the Pope had to wanted to be forgiven for what they did to the indigenous people. Basically they were they were deprived of their own culture, their own language, their own everything, and simply to be turned into good, civilized, Western looking like, people. And, they had to be good Christians, as white as possible. And it really, I first time that I've read about this was like probably 25 years ago. But when it made it to the news, I was like, well, now it's time that, that I go deep into that. And I basically invented the stories of these two twins separated, and they both had their own lives. It's a guy and a girl, and a boy and a girl, and the boy is able to escape the residential school and basically save himself from being burnt alive. And on the other side, the sister kind of plays the game, but every night she talks to herself in her own idiom, in her own language, not so that she would not forget that language. So she wants to keep her culture alive, but she has to hide from the white world. And after lots of years, basically on the bed of death for the boy, he finally finds his sister, or better, the sister finds the brother, and the sister has two kids with her. And so the boy can basically die, but knowing that there's going to be a future for their culture, because the daughter and the son of his sister are speaking their language, and they're dressed up like indigenous, and he can now be free to die, knowing that nothing is going to fade away. And it's basically it's a metaphor on what happens every day when you're different, when you're the minority, and there's always oppression. There's always in everything we do, unfortunately, in life, in mostly everything we do, there's an oppressed and oppressor. And what I've seen in the last years is that we're not really learning from our past mistakes. Whatever is happening in Middle East is proof. I mean, things change 100 years, but still things have not changed, because our human nature is divided into these two sides. It's a good side and an evil side, and we basically have to do the hard work to feed the good side, because the evil side will always show up, and we have to do basically a daily work on wanting to be the change, to make this place a better place for everyone. And I don't know, with the pandemic, I think we had to come out of it being better persons. But I see there's even more ego involved in all our choices, and we tend to I don't want to see what's bad, I don't want to take sides. And it's strange, because if you go back into the first years of philosophies and religions back 6,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago, the problems that they had back in the past were the same. I mean, if you read an ancient Greek philosophy book, or if you read the Bible, if you read the Quran, it's always been like that, Cain and Abel. It's the root. Unfortunately, we're wired like that, and it's been thousands of years that we're asking ourselves how to change that. And there's only one way, to side with the oppressed and try to make this world a better place. Unfortunately, it's very simple, but it's not so simple. And this story talks about, being proud and not change because the world wants you to change. There's conformity now, and especially with social media, and I see these kids, that they commit suicide because they cannot reach those high standards. If you're not rich, you're not even worth on being on Instagram for a kid today. You have to have, perfect sculpture body, a great car. And there's a disalignment with the real world, because when I grew up, maybe, you could see one or two Ferraris in your own life, full lifetime. But nowadays on social media, everybody's got a Lamborghini and a Ferrari, and it's obviously a fake representation of the world. Because if you and I, go and rent a Ferrari, we can make the interview in the Ferrari, and people will think like, oh my God, those two guys made millions in the music business. And then we send the signal that it's easy to make money. And then, whoever is struggling to even put, bread on the table, then, you simply feel like, you're not even worth being yourself. And this big imbalance between the truth, the real world, and the representation of the world, it's really what I talk about in the root, the deep core of the story is this. Just be yourself. There will always be somebody who wants to change you. It can either be, your teacher, you're in the wrong school. You're a great painter, but you've been sent to do, math, and you're just in the wrong place, and you're not accepted, and you then don't accept yourself. You're judged in a bad way, and then you judge yourself in a bad way. And mine is an anthem to, really believe in yourself and be true to yourself.
It's kind of the values I try to entrust in my teenage son. I tell him, know who you are. You'll develop a belief system of what you believe in is right and wrong. Respect other people's differing opinions, be a nice person, and you'll be fine, because in reality, you have to live with who you are. Nobody else has to live with who you are.
Yeah, and then, I always, when I talk to my friends, I have a very positive way of looking at things, because we're here, we're alive, everybody's got a call, a mission, and we have to be true to that mission to be happy, in my opinion. And, life is not easy, but, if you're a good person, or you try to be the better person you can be, because, to be 100% good, it's impossible, because I call it the elephant step. The elephant is vegetarian by nature. It doesn't eat animals, but just by walking is going to kill ants and insects and plants. So there's an elephant step process that we all do, but it's the goal. If you have the goal to be a good person, to respect each other, and remember that whoever has a different opinion than you is trying to live, the same way you do, because everybody at the end wants to be happy. So never exploit other people, because you don't know the struggle. But we all know our own struggle, but we're all wired the same way. You and I, we have very different lives, but we all have, we all want to live. We don't want to die as soon as possible. We want to live, a good place for our children. And we don't want to harm anybody else, because we don't like to be harmed. And I always say, if we all respected the 10 commandments, like to, to the world, to the word, be faithful to the 10 commandments. It doesn't matter, all religions say the same thing. If we were so down to the core faithful to those 10 rules, the world would be a much better place. So simple. And I'm not Catholic, but I've been raised with those values. And I always say, if you're Buddhist or Catholic or evangelist, whatever, the rules are the same.
Absolutely. So we'll shift back to music.
Yes. Otherwise, I can go very deep into this.
We could go deep. I was gonna go into, but we're expected to be sinners and violate those 10 commandments anyway. But
it's good. But it's good. I mean, it's good to make mistakes. It's the purpose that has to be good.
Exactly. You got to have some sort of values, some sort of core beliefs.
Yes.
And that's a good place to start.
Absolutely. It's the best place. It's the only good place where you can start.
So you got 3 singles out from Ritual. Is it tough deciding what singles you want to put out there? Because this is a concept album, this is a story, and you're kind of breaking the story apart.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, at one point we said, we should do at least the whole suite, like 21 minutes, whatever, single. But we're not in the 70s anymore. I wish we were like Jethro Tull, the thick as a brick, you can play the whole side and make a single out of it. We're not in that position. And we said, okay, we'll just apply the rule that the best songs and what we think are the best songs that represent the band today, we're gonna release them as singles.
One of my favorite songs on the album, which isn't a single, is Love Is the Only Answer. This is a beautiful song. What is kind of the inspiration behind that? Obviously, it's part of the story, but there's got to be a little bit of inspiration behind it.
Yeah, there's an inspiration, and the inspiration is my son, because I have a 10 months old baby, and it's a long. I've always had this saying. I always say, love is the only answer. Because if you apply love to everything, and it's something that I've learned in the past, because there was a period where I was not a good person, because I was very driven, and I realized that I was burning bridges behind me, and a person who was working with me, but I don't want to say it in a bad way, but he was in a much disadvantaged position than myself. He was in his 50s, and he said, Ale, I love to work with you, but you have to remember one thing, that if you do everything with love, everything will be okay, and you're gonna love everything you do. And I was young, I was 20, I guess 25, and I've always reminded myself, well, yeah, it's true. Love is the only answer. If you have a problem with your wife, if you love her, if there's love, there's going to be a solution. And when Enea, my son, was born, I realized that the bigger the love, the easier the answer to everything. If I have a problem today, I just look at my son, and the solution is there. I have to make it work, because I'm not here alone. I have my son and my wife, and the love for them is beyond the love that I have for myself. It has to be like that, because it's a matter of responsibility and love, and that good sacrifice that love brings with it. And yeah, love is the only answer, and it can be love for anything. If you're so the boy, the twin boy, realizes that he's is wasting his life, because by escaping the residential school, he didn't have the tools to be in the society, because he was at the margins of the whole the society. He couldn't thrive in this world, and he was always going back to the love for his sister, because it was the only constant reminder that he had every day. He was all he wanted was to go to find his sister. And for him, the love for his sister was the only answer, even in the toughest moments. And that's that's the inspiration behind the song. And I'm very happy that you like that song, because ballads in rock records are, nowadays they're like, oh, another ballad. But I love the simplicity of that song. It's so simple, and the message is so spot on. Love is the only answer. And I always love that line, and I have to thank my friend who put me back on the rails. He was like, that's not the way you do things. You cannot do things driven only by yourself. You have to have a bigger goal and a bigger statement to the world, because if you're selfish, you will show up as a selfish person to all around, and whoever is going to like you is not going to be honest. They're going to dislike you, and they're going to like you simply because you're useful. And he was like, yeah, I remember, love is the only answer. If you love what you do, if you really love anything you do, you're going to be a happy person. And that day I froze. I remember I was like, wow, so simple, but so true. And, finally I made a song out of it.
And of course, having a child also takes sort of a bit of selfishness from you, because, before you have a child, it's all about me, 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 me. Then the child comes along and you're like, oh, wait a minute. It's not about me anymore.
Yeah. I mean, even career wise, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I've always said, because I come from, I'm an Italian musician, and what I've done, I guess it's basically a miracle, because I've been playing with all my heroes from a very disadvantaged country for rock and roll. I never had the money to move to the US to, all I had was my talent. And I've always said, my career could die tomorrow. I could leave this planet tomorrow and die happy, because I've done more than my dreams could even, be. I've done so many things that are beyond what even my imagination could touch. But nowadays I'm like, my career could be over tomorrow, but I still have my kid. And because all I want to do is to live for him. And if I thrive, it's for him. If I flourish, it's for him. It's not for me anymore. It's not about me anymore. And it's about him and my wife. And that is it's with, and I see it with the, being very humble. I think it's the greatest feeling in the world. And I thought that music was the, biggest feeling in the world. But my friends say, well, I mean, that changed your perspective. And it's, I mean, obviously I love music, but that is a much bigger statement, because I mean, a marriage could end, but not your relationship with your son. So that your son, your daughter, that thing will be forever, will be up to the end. And obviously I don't want my relationship with my wife to end, but you get the point. I mean, with your son or daughter, that is like, it's in stone. You're going to be a father forever, and that is, honestly, it's the biggest example of, just, surrendering to the fate and to the universe, and then surrender to love, this unconditioned love. And I love my wife, but the love that I have for my kid is just another thing. It's different. And some people make fun of me, because I always say I love my wife, but I love my kid. I love him, more. It's different. And even my wife, I always ask her, I'm always like, you must love him more than you love me, because it's a different thing. But yeah, anyway, that's that's my position right now, and why I wrote "Love is the Only Answer."
I had interviewed Nitrate, another band on the Frontiers label, a few weeks back, and I heard their album fantastic. I told them probably my album of the year, but I hadn't heard Ritual yet. And I listened to Ritual, and now I'm stuck. I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. Feel the Heat is so
Forever.
it, it's, it's like Sophie's Choice at this point. I mean, you really knocked it out of the park.
Both. Deuce. Both. Yeah, I mean, Nitrate, the record is fantastic. And I brought the record to the label. I fought for the record, and I sang backing vocals on the last record, Renegade. And so I kept in touch with Nick Hogg from the bass player and songwriter of the band. And when he sent me the first songs from the new album, I was like, oh, wow. I was like, oh man. And then when Frontiers decided to put it out the same day, I was like, that's not fair. That's not fair, because such a great record to try to beat. But yeah, but it's good to be in such a competition with such a great record. It means that we're doing a good job, apparently.
You're making my choices tougher for sure with Ritual. It's a great album. You outdid yourself.
It has to be a ritual. It has to be a ritual at the end.
So you're going to be taking Edge of Forever on the road to promote Ritual?
Yeah. We're, obviously the touring situation right now in Europe is tough. The conditions on the road have become, sometimes unbearable, but we're trying to do our best to bring the band on the road. We're coming out of almost 30 gigs, 30 shows supporting Seminole, our previous record. So we're confident that we can do that and even more. And we're putting our efforts to tour in the spring more than, right when the record comes out, because we think that with our new sonic direction, which is a little more heavy and more metal, more melodic metal in some places, we can reach a wider audience, and we want to work that out before we get on the road and give our record the chance that we need to give it. And I think it's going to be beneficial if we can reach a wider audience. And we're talking about opening for a metal band for a metal tour next February. So I think that's the way to go. Right now our biggest song in terms of reception is Free My Will, which is the heaviest song on the record. It made it to playlists that we were surprised on Spotify, with we were on the all new metal Spotify playlist, which is, it's rare that a hard rock band makes it to that playlist. But same day release of the new Judas Priest single and stuff like that, to see your band in 50 of those bands, it's a good signal. And we want to work that audience the best we can before we hit the road. We're playing next week in a metal festival in Norway at Orland Fest with Soilwork at Infinitum. So we're put already there, and it's a bigger crowd in Europe for that. And we didn't make it just because it's a bigger crowd. It's our sound as a band, we play like that live, but it's paying off. I mean, we're being truthful to our sound that we have on stage. It's paying off. So we want to get to that crowd, and we need more promotion, and we need to work hard and work out strategies to reach that audience the best way before we hit the road.
You guys are actually going to be playing Firefest next year, right? That's a pretty big festival.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
Have you ever played a festival of that particular size?
Yeah, I played at Firefest 3 times, I think, but back like 10 years ago, because the festival was on a hiatus for 8-9 years, and I've played there. I played there 4 times. Twice with Mitch Malloy. No, 3 times. Mitch Malloy was the first time, Lionville, and then Hardline. So and I was so happy when Bruce Me called us. First of all, because it's the melodic festival of the year, and to gain a position in that bill is kind of you want to pride yourself with that. And second, we're gonna be with great bands, and on the heavier side of things, we're gonna compete with Jelusic. So that's a good competition with a great friend and a great singer and a great band. And we're just the only two heavier bands. All the others are more into the AOR, British AOR sound. And I think it's gonna be a good test also for us as a band, because we'll come with heavy artillery, and we'll see how it will go. But I know it's gonna be fantastic. The Firefest crowd is one of the best I've ever seen in my life.
You have another album coming out right around the corner on November 17th with Michael Sweet called Souldriver.
Yeah.
What can fans expect sound wise from that album? Sort of a mix of Edge of Forever meets Striper, or something new?
No, it's a real almost true to the core melodic rock record. And we didn't want to sound heavy, and we wanted to sound obviously in a modern version, and a more personal version of the sounds that we love from Journey, from Foreigner, from Boston. And I don't want to say it's one of the best records that I've done, but it's a very special record. We took lots of time to write it. Sometimes those projects are seen from the outside, like cookie cutter kind of factory thing. That is really not the truth for Driver. We worked very hard to get the best songs we could, to get best sonics we could. And it's not the first record that I worked with Michael Sweet, but that I did together with him. But it's we kept saying, "Oh, this has to be the best we've done together," because first of all, it's a melodic rock record, and Michael hasn't done something like that in years. And second, even if Stryper doesn't is more like a metal band nowadays, there are Stryper fans that are still in love with all those late 80s 90s more melodic records from Stryper, and Michael's solo records that are leaning more towards the melodic side of things, that are willing to hear that, they were desperate to hear that for years, and now they have it. But I don't hear anything Edge of Forever and anything Stryper on the record. But did you hear it, or you don't have it any yet?
I have not listened to it yet. I have access to it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah. But you will let me know. But I guess it will be evident what drove us to do this record. And it's Michael Sweet. It's exceptional vocals, and and he asked me to play guitars on the record,
I
which
saw
is a
that.
big change. And he was like, I was like, nah, Michael, come on, you can play, you should play guitar. Don't let me do it. Or let's get a guitarist, like let's get a real guitarist. And he was like, no, I like what you've done on those demos. You're capturing the soul and the essence of these songs. Let's not change that. But I didn't trust him, so I had a guitarist record the whole record, and I sent it to him, and I said, yeah, that's how it should sound. And he was like, no, there's no soul anymore. The soul is in your guitars. And I was like, but I'm not a guitarist. He was like, no, you're more of a guitarist than a lot of guitarists around, because you're playing for the songs, and these songs don't need. Yeah. And he was like, Mick Jones doesn't do solos. He doesn't need to do solos. And Frankie Sullivan doesn't need to do, to be a flashy player, because the songs are so good. And it was like, and then, as a guitarist, I can only play one thing, which is my Neil Sean impression. And he was like, and you have the sound of Neil Sean, we don't need anything else. I was like, oh my God. And then when the first single came out, all these comments were like, oh, the guitarist sounds like Neil Sean. And I was like, don't even dare to say it. I'm not even worthy, the nail of a finger of Neil Sean. But it means that Michael was right. And I will never be a full-time guitar player. I don't feel that confident outside of the studio. But it's been a great record to work on, because it literally was fresh and a different approach to the songs, and the way we wrote it, it's been fantastic.
You previously worked with Michael on the supergroup Iconic with Nathan James and members of Whitesnake. And are you going to be working on the second Iconic album?
Yes. We're actually, next week I'm starting to do my part of the job. Michael and Joel have sent me songs, and I'm gonna make a little bit of order in everything, and arrange the songs and work with Nathan on the melodies and lyrics. And then I guess in December we'll start recording, and we'll be out sometime next year.
Are you working on a new album for Jorn?
It's a cover record. But we have shows, and we're working constantly with Jorn, and I'm always looking forward to working with Jorn. One of my best friends and such a fantastic singer. But yeah, we're working. We'll be in the studio together in December.
Sounds like a busy December. How about Sunstorm? It's time for a follow up on that one too.
That's gonna be a new Sunstorm next year. We haven't set any date yet, but there's gonna be a new Sunstorm for sure.
Are you considering writing another record for Jeff Scott Soto?
I'm ready. Whenever Jeff wants to do it, he knows that my door is, for me working with Jeff, he doesn't even have to ask. He just has to tell me, okay, we're gonna do a new record, and I'm in. And Jeff is a friend more than above everything. And I want to do a record. I want to make music with Jeff. I don't care about the monies and the job side of things. I just want to make music with Jeff. It just makes me feel fantastic.
Are you working on anything else, whether it's a follow-up of something you've done in the past or something new?
Not really at the moment. And I'm trying to keep my plate not as busy as before, because it's been 20 years and plus of, working hard. But now I want to also experiment and do different things. I'm working on an instrumental record, and no guitars, just keyboards, bass, and drums with an iconic drummer, which I will reveal, when it's the right time. But it's a prog instrumental record, and it's completely different than what I've done in the past. And I guess it's time for me to have the story of that when you're in your 40s you have your midlife crisis. And no, it's not about that. But I want to do things that that been sitting there in the back of my mind for years, and I want to do that. So I want to have the time to do that. And also, I mean, to detach from the routine of writing so much and producing multiple records every day will surely clean my ideas, and I will be fresh at every new record. So I'm trying to be a little bit more selective, but not on the quality thing, more like if I want to do this record, I want to be ready for that. I want to do it when it's the right time. And maybe some of the records that I've worked in the past will be, with another producer or songwriter, and I'm not afraid of that. But I have to step back. I feel like it's the right time for me. It's the best time for me to sit back and just, do what I like the most, and do what I'm ready to do for, and not, constantly fight against inspiration. Because if I sit down every day, I can write every day. I'm like a writing machine. I always have ideas, but a little break, on that side, or not a break, but like slowing down, will help for sure.
Well, those are all the questions I have for you today, Ali. The new Edge of Forever album, Ritual, is out now on Frontiers Music. Fantastic album. It's definitely up there for album of the year for me, though I haven't heard the new one with Michael Sweet, so it might be a three-way tie when we get there.
Edge of Forever, Edge of Forever. Let's we need that more than no. I'm not gonna say that. Everybody needs to everybody deserves it. But yeah, I guess it's a good competition, as I said before. And yeah, I'm sure you're gonna like the Souldriver record. And there's songs that are different, there are ballads, lots of ballads, and the rockers are different. We're coming out, I guess, next week with another single, which is, it's something that you could have heard in '84 on the radio in terms of the style of the song. It's not a song that you hear nowadays on the radio, but it's probably the best song on the record. We wanted to take set the bar as high as we could.
All right, man. Next time we get together, we'll rent a Ferrari. We'll do the interview in the Ferrari, and we'll put it on Instagram.
In Dubai.
In Dubai, exactly.
Yeah, because you can do that only in Dubai. On a penthouse in Dubai with your Ferrari or Lamborghini. Not lower than that.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Ali. Thanks for joining me.
Anytime.
And we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Hopefully very soon.